Welcome to the OAH training for suitable representatives on substantive law. OAH holds appeal hearings for many different types of cases from many different state agencies. This module introduces the materials and resources available to parties to learn about the substance of the law at issue in a case. For example, how to learn about program eligibility requirements, income and resource standards, and licensing standards. Whether you are a suitable representative for a party who needs an accommodation or a party who is capable of representing themselves, everyone has access to the same information. In this module, you will learn about how to learn what substantive law is at issue in a case, where to find the law, how to find more in-depth knowledge, if needed, and resources for many common case types. OAH hearings are not like formal trials in a courtroom. The hearings at OAH use a more informal process. Most people who appear before OAH do not have attorneys. They represent themselves. They may not know the facts they need to prove and may not recognize what is important under the law. These are some of the reasons the ALJ or judge may develop the facts and complete the record. ALJs remain impartial but, as necessary, may ask questions of the witnesses, decide to call additional witnesses, and request additional exhibits. And that's under WAC 1008-200, subsections 8 and 9. The ALJ Code of Ethics recognizes the role of the ALJ to conduct a hearing that is fair and just for all parties. The people who volunteer to be suitable representatives may not be attorneys. Alternatively, they may be attorneys, but they practice in another area of law. OAH does not expect you to become an expert in the substantive law. Most parties who represent themselves at hearing are not experts in the substantive law either. In hearings before OAH, the ALJ is the one expected to have a demonstrated knowledge of administrative law and procedures. In this video, we will walk you through the information about the law that is available to all parties who represent themselves in hearings before OAH. To identify the substantive law or issues in a case, you may talk with your client, review the agency's decision, your client's request for hearing, and the notice of hearing. Review the issue statement in the pre-hearing order or listen to the audio recording of a pre-hearing conference, if a pre-hearing conference was held before you were appointed. Talk with the agency representative or read an agency's administrative hearing report or opening brief. You could ask OAH to schedule a pre-hearing conference in order to identify the issues if you are unclear about the issues or if you need the ALJ to determine if there is authority to hear some of the issues important to your client. The state agency has an obligation to inform your client. They must tell you the facts they used and the law they used to make the decision in your client's case. A good place for you to start to find out about the substance of a case is in the agency's decision. The agency representative usually prepares a hearing packet. You may also hear this called an administrative hearing report, an exhibit packet, or a fair hearing packet. We will look at an example packet in a moment, but here are some things you may see in the packet. The agency representative may include a cover letter with contact information. The agency representative will list the documents offered as evidence, including those submitted by your client to the agency. The representative will list expected participants, including your client and other agency witnesses, in addition to the representative. There may be a factual statement that summarizes the agency's position. In a hearing packet, you can find the agency's statement of issues, WAC citations, and facts. The fact statement is usually an attachment. Often, DSHS and HCA include copies of the law in the packet. This is an example of a hearing packet. Let's go ahead and open that. And I'm going to scroll through this slowly so you can look at it. So this is an example of what a hearing packet could look like. Oops, open that twice. Let me go back. There we go. You may also want to look at the state agency's website. It will usually have links that you and your client will find helpful. Here are some examples from the DSHS and HCA websites that you might find helpful. Remember that you can access the PDF version of this document, so you have access to all of these hyperlinks. Over 95% of the appeals heard at OAH are with these 6 agencies, and here are links to their websites. For example, let's click on the DSHS website right here. If your client is a parent in a child support case, you will find a section right here devoted to child support. Close that and go back to our PowerPoint. To find other state agency websites, go to Access Washington, and there's the link. To find statutes and regulations that apply to your client's case, search the Legal Research and Resources page on the OAH website. This has links to the law. The RCWs and WACs are published by the Office of the Code Reviser, a primary source where you find the law. They are organized, RCWs and WACs are organized by title, chapter, and section. So RCW 50-20-050 shows Title 50 for unemployment benefits, Chapter 20 for benefits and claims, and Section 050 for voluntary quit. WAC 388-14A 3205 shows Title 388 for DSHS, Chapter 14A for Division of Child Support, and Section 3205 for how DCS calculates income. In some cases, you may want more in-depth knowledge. You may find these sources useful. The State Law Library provides free search tools that are user-friendly. They even offer Ask a Librarian help by phone, chat, or email. Published decisions. The recent opinions of the Washington Supreme Court and Court of Appeals, you can click that link to read the recent opinions. For precedential decisions by heads of some agencies, you can use these links. For final orders by ALJs on the special education caseload, you can click this link. Some agencies, like DSHS and HCA, issue rule updates frequently. By comparison, some agencies like ESD and L&I may issue rule updates annually. Some agencies show recent rulemaking, including rules adopted on an emergency basis, and here are some links to those. You can find information about WACs recently adopted on an emergency basis. The Code Reviser also has an archive of statutes, RCWs, and rules, WACs. For each chapter of the WAC, the Code Reviser indicates the date it updated the chapter, or that it most recently updated the chapter. This is an example of an RCW showing the dates it was revised. Excuse me, this is an example of the RCW. So these are the WACs, and this is the RCW. So the WACs show them up here, and the RCW shows them down here. On oah.wa.gov, if you go to the Legal Research and Resources page and you click on the Frequently Conducted Hearings, there are links to the law. So let's go ahead and do that together. Let's go to the OAH website, so oah.wa.gov, Resources, Legal Research and Resources. And we're going to click on the Frequently Conducted Hearings. Okay. Let's go ahead and click on the Healthcare Authority, so this one right here. So this gives the laws and regulations, and let's click on the last one, the WAC 182. This opens that particular section of the Washington Administrative Code, or WAC. So in 182, it shows that it was last updated August 8th of 2018. For each section of the WAC, you can find the history of a section and a link to agency filings affecting this section. So we're going to scroll down, and in 182, we're going to look for 526, right here. It's the Administrative Hearing Rules. And we're going to click on the definitions. So if you look here, we have agency filings affecting this section. So here you will see a table with links to the Washington State Registry, the WSR, for filing number, type, and date. Most rules are effective 31 days after the filing date. Rules filed on an emergency basis may be effective sooner. By comparison, the Code Reviser shows a history. This is the Code Reviser. Shows the history of an RCW. So I put in 7408-025, and if I just click on that one, that will show us that particular RCW. And if you look down here at the bottom, this shows the dates that it was revised. So this one was most recently revised in 2011. I would like to go back to oh.wa.gov. I'll just take you from the home page to show you one more time. So under the resources, legal research and resources, I want to really look a little bit more in depth at these frequently conducted hearings. Okay. So once you are assigned to a caseload, you can come here and click on one of these links to get additional information. Let's look at the public assistance. So public assistance here, you have links to the laws and the regulations. You have the DSHS website, the DSHS hearing rules, the A to Z manual that shows what DSHS uses to determine eligibility, as well as some other resources like Washington Law Help. Each of our major caseloads have case-specific information listed in this section. All right, on we go. In most common cases heard at OAH, the Northwest Justice Project has provided articles about how to understand the issues and how to represent yourself. Their website is Washington Law Help. The articles are written in plain language for people who are not attorneys. There is a lot of information on this site. It is not limited to OAH hearings. However, they have resources for the most common types of cases heard at OAH. So let's click on it. And this will take us to the Washington Law Help website. And right here, let's just look in the middle, elder abuse. Okay. If I click on that, you will see the Know Your Rights with some articles about adult protective services, investigations, and findings. So if your client appealed a substantiated finding by APS, Adult Protective Services, that they allegedly abused an elder, this would be one of the places that you may want to read. We would like you to skim 2 of the articles on Washington Law Help as examples of the type of information available on this site. So we would like you to skim, Do You Owe Child Support? And Questions and Answers on Medicaid for Nursing Home Residents. So go ahead and pause the video, skim those, and come right back. Here is a list of resources from Washington Law Help. After you're assigned to a case, you will want to study the specific law for that type of case, and here is a list of topics. So page 1 and page 2. Once you're assigned to a case, again, come back to that list and study those materials. Thank you for taking this training. We encourage and appreciate feedback to improve any of the training videos and materials. Please send suggestions to the OAH ADA coordinator at OAH_ADA coordinator@oh.wa.gov. We'll see you in the next training.